Hello, everybody, and welcome back for game number 4. Let me just quickly change this up here. Bloop, 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 bloop. There we go. 3-0 Warlock, game number 4, guys. Fairly easy mulligan here. We keep the zombie chow, we ditch the siphon souls. A little bit too early for those guys. And we get a 3-drop and a 2-drop. We get a ridiculous curve. We are getting the stats of a 2-drop on turn 1, and we are getting the stats of a 3-drop on turn 2. So Zombie Chow and Wrathguard, both minions with a little bit of an overstatting, essentially, like a little bit too strong for what they normally are. But they do have that negative downside. Well, I suppose downside is always negative. But yeah. Basically, they're just really good minions, and the downside is negligible at this stage of the game. Okay, so we are off to a really good start. So far, the hand is playing itself. Play the 1-drop on turn 1, play the 2-drop on turn 2. Alright, here, the first fork in the road. We get to choose how we want to clear, if we want to clear, and if we want to develop, or life tap, or soulfire, or whatnot. I believe here the best play would be to put the Wrathguard into the 2 and 3, the Zombie Chow into the 1-1, and then go face with the Horse Rider to preserve the shield. This Worgen is going to be able to kill your Wrathguard regardless of killing the Boar or the Razorfen, so there's no real value in using like Horse Rider and Zombie Chow into the 2-3, or even Soul Firing. Like, you could Soul Fire the 2-3, put the 2-3 into the 1-1 and 4 phase, but then he can still just kill your Zombie Chow. So I'd say, like, don't throw away a removal here. Accept the fact that he's going to kill your Wrathguard. Common mistake is that people try to protect their cards too hard, and in the process they just lose a whole bunch of other stuff. So if this Wrathguard ends up killing, I'd say 3/4 of a 3-drop, you know, the better half of the Razorfen Hunter, and the 1-drop, hey, that's a 2-drop doing a lot of work. Don't mess with it. That's good. Alright, there we go, guys. Decent trading, and then a Horse Rider to the face, because there's no use in using the Divine Shield here. So obviously, this is not the greatest use of an Argent Horse Rider, and you'd probably want his counterpart, the Silent Knight here, because, you know, he can't really mess with the Divine Shield other than AoE with the Silent Knight. Here he could, say, use an Elven Archer to knock the shield off. Not that that would be disastrous or anything. Oh, don't worry, loves, the cavalry is here. So yeah, he gets a very decent turn there. And we're pretty sad. We can only spend 2 mana in our entire hand, so that's why life tapping here is very fine. I am not a huge fan of life tapping early, but if you just can't use your mana any other way, might as well get a card. And drawing that card is hoping that your curve later on is going to fix itself, it's going to stabilize. I think the best move here is to just put the Blood Imp down and trade. There is no real benefit to soul firing that, other than preserving your Divine Shield. But if you preserve the Divine Shield and you lose the Soul Fire, you lose the ability to deal 4 damage next turn. So the tempo here is going slightly lower, like I said, very slightly, by not spending that mana and using your Divine Shield. But if you use the Soul Fire here, I mean, we're already, you know, in an awkward position. I want to keep that flexible card to make my turn later on a little bit better, you know, so we keep that 1 mana 4 damage. So it's not always easy to float a mana and say like, all right, I can't use it right now. But if we had used it there, it's bad news, right? We don't get anywhere. It's not like we're getting a hit. So we'll see what our opponent wants to do here. Void Caller, damn. Void Caller is pretty top tier. And we draw a 6-drop, so this is terrible right now. Tempo-wise, we are in trouble. We'll life tap again, because we'll only have 2 mana to spend in our hand, and we kind of... Oh, sorry guys. We kind of don't want to soulfire that, but I think we have to, because we have the corruption to back it up. Let's say if we soulfire that and it drops a Doomguard, we can just corrupt the Doomguard, and then the Doomguard probably kills our Horse Rider, and that's fine. That's a decent trade. A Horse Rider and a corruption to kill a Doomguard, I'll take it. If it doesn't spawn a demon, yay, even better. Okay, so play the Soulfire here. We're not gonna play the Zombie Chow more to have less chance to discard the corruption, but yeah, there goes the corruption. So this is just a really shitty turn of events. It was the right play, I feel, because if we pass there and we don't Soulfire, we're wasting a whole bunch of mana. That Void Caller is just going to pop itself over the course of 2 turns anyway, and we could have dealt with his minion really nicely with the corruption. But unfortunately, RNGesus was a little bit against it. Oh, sorry guys. It's always with these recordings. I don't know why. Like, I have the urge to start yawning. I hope I'm not that boring, guys. Okay, so our opponent life taps to buff the floating ones and develops a 2-drop. Could have been worse, right? His entire turn 5 was basically using a Demon Fire on this guy and playing a 2-drop. That's fine. That's not great. He gained a card, but tempo-wise, that doesn't matter. So he kills a Zombie Chow. That's kind of okay. Him killing the Zombie Chow obviously makes it worse to Dark Bargain here. Dread Infernal is playable. You could knock into the Mech Warper and Dread Infernal, and that way he'd have a 6-3, and if he taps, he'd get an 8-5. But there's always the danger of him going like tap plus Flame Imp, and then suddenly, boom, you know, he's got 8 health on his Floating Watcher, and he can kill our Dread. Oh, sorry, he would have 7 health because of the Dread AoE. So we opt to life tap and use the Implosion instead. Basically say, okay, if we hit it, great. You know, if we don't hit it, it's fine. We'll just trade in with the Horse Rider. There is no way we could have missed it, because if we deal 2, we can still trade, and the Implosion is always a minimum of 2. So we are basically delaying this Dread Infernal to get more of a tempo swing later on out of it, and also it was just safer to cleanly kill that Floating Watcher there, because we don't know what he has. Like maybe he could have damaged his face twice, and then suddenly we're in trouble. Okay, here, turn 7, play the Jormungandr. Jormungandr contests the Sen'jin really nicely. I think that's the best play we can do here. Getting creative with like Bone Guard tap Harvest doesn't do much, because he just puts the Sen'jin in the Bone Guard. Let's see how our opponent replies to this. I really like Jormungandr. Just the 9 health on the minion makes it so incredibly sturdy. Much better than a War Golem. Because a War Golem is usually going to overkill stuff anyway. 5 power is plenty. And just having that extra 2 life makes it a very fun card. I always say that the Jormungandr is kind of a very slow removal spell, because you put it down, it kills a guy, then it kills a guy again. It might survive that trade, and then it kills 3 guys, so it's pretty fun. Alright, opponent is going to opt to remove the Jormungandr in one go, and I don't think we can be sad with that. He used the Sen'jin, a Power Overwhelming, and a Dark Iron buff. Obviously, our Jormungandr killing his Sen'jin would have been better, but I mean, if your opponent is going to PO and do that, I mean, might as well just force him to throw it on a Sen'jin. So, PO on the... like, just to illustrate how good the Jormungandr there was, anything with lower health, he could have dwarfed and PO'd the Mech Warper for 8, right? But because Jormungandr had 9 health, he had to throw it on the Sen'jin. I'm not even sure if I would have cleared up that Jormungandr. Maybe I would have just gone face and said like, okay, you can kill my guy. Apologies, guys. Didn't have a lot of sleep today, so that might also be causing it. So our opponent has 2-1, 4-4, 1-2. There's obviously the option to Dread Infernal, right? The option to Dread Infernal is always there. But I believe just a better option here is to put down the Bone Guard, play the Shredder, life tap, trade the 1-1 into the 2-1. You'll have a 3-3 and a 4-3. The Dark Iron Dwarf is probably going to kill the Bone Guard, and then the Dread Infernal can get the kill back after the Shredder pops the Creeper. So clean kill on the Creeper, clean kill on the Dwarf. It's kind of what we're going for. And we get a card, because I'd rather play Bone Guard tap than Piloted Harvest. Because if you play Piloted and Harvest, the 4-4 is going to run into the Harvest, and then the Spiders are going to run into the 2-1. And it's going to be awkward, because that Dwarf will still have 4 health. Sorry, the dwarfs will have 2 health, and it'll be a little bit hard to finish it off. There we go, guys. The Shredder goes in the middle here because playing the stealth minion in the middle has no benefit against the Warlock, and the Shredder might drop a Flame Tongue Totem, which could buff up your Flame Imp, which could be useful. So far, we've had quite some unfortunate draws and discards, you know, the Soulfire discarding the Corruption, having to tap on both our turn 4 and turn 5 and turn 8. It's not amazing, but it's okay. We're kind of getting out of it, right? That Jormungandr, like I said, that Jormungandr basically saved us. The fact that we had that Jormungandr there helped out a lot. Okay, so our opponent started off with a Light Tap. Light's Champion, fairly odd card to see in a Warlock deck. Generally you don't want it because the silence is not optional. Oh boy, that's unfortunate. Get Captain's Parrot. Any other 2-drop should have survived that creeper. But yeah, well, I suppose Blood Mage wouldn't have. Okay, let us look at that Dread Infernal scenario again. So we could knock the 3/3 into the spiders and then Dread. It's not really good because he will get a 1/1 from the Imgang boss. The 1/1 from the Imgang boss will be able to kill off the Bone Guard because the Bone Guard will go to 2 HP by hitting into the spider and then 1 HP by the Dread Infernal. So it's probably better to just trade the Bone Guard into the 4 and 3 and then develop a Pit Fighter and a Piloted Shredder. Once you can just put more stuff on the board. I feel like this is a turn where we can get ahead tempo-wise. Just dropping a Pit Fighter and a Shredder versus a Creeper and a Imgang boss. That is nothing to be to laugh at. I wish I could say that's nothing to yawn at. Oh man. Okie dokie, guys. Shredder goes in the middle once again in case it drops a Direwolf or a Flame Tongue Totem. Our opponent has to life tap again, that's good. He had to dedicate 2 mana to that last turn, 2 mana this turn. So the less mana our opponent has available to develop the board, the better for us. That means that we have a higher chance of maintaining board control. Because right now we are in a fairly good position. It's going to be hard to develop enough to contest both the Shredder and the Pit Fighter here. What our opponent is doing though, he's making the Dark Bargain really awkward. Because, you know, that Creeper is still around. So we want to cleanly deal with that Creeper. Hopefully next turn with a Dread Infernal. And then we make his board a lot better to hit a Dark Bargain on. Because Dark Bargain is so good, it's crazy, guys. Especially in the late game, where you can just discard no cards, or only 1 card, and just boom, kill 2 minions. Okay, so our opponent's going all out here. Looks like he had a couple 1-drops that he was saving. Dropped them here. And there's a good Dread Infernal line available here, especially now we draw that Dark Iron Dwarf. So the thing that we think of first of all is like, okay, so if the Shredder goes into the Imgang boss, or the Shredder goes into the 1/1, and the Pit Fighter goes into the Imgang boss, it's not a huge difference, then we can Dread Infernal and the Creepers will die, the 1/1 that was generated by the Imgang boss will die, the Divine Shield will go, but something else is going to happen. Our Flame Imp is also going to, our Blood Imp is also going to die. So what we want to do instead is utilize that body of the Blood Imp to deliver the Dark Iron Dwarf buff. So if we buff the Imp, we could put the Imp either in the Chow or in the Flame Imp. Now your gut, your instinct might tell you automatically, oh, we put it in the Chow, because then the Chow goes to 1, then we Dread Infernal, nice, we get maximum damage output. But if you play the Dwarf and then you Dread Infernal afterwards, which you have to do because otherwise the Blood Imp would die, your Dwarf is going to 3 health. And we don't really want that Flame Imp to trade up into our Dark Iron Dwarf now, do we? So if you take a closer look at the board, it is actually better to play the Dark Iron Dwarf, buff up the Blood Imp, use the Blood Imp into the Flame Imp, then use the Shredder and the Pit Fighter into his 1/1 and his 2/4, then drop the Dread Infernal. His Divine Shield is gone, His 1/1s are gone, the imp is dead, and he is left with a 2/2 Silent Knight and a 2/2 Zombie Chow. We will have a Pit Fighter, a Shredder, a Dwarf, and a Dread Inferno. So absolutely crushing turn here. This is the moment where we just take a convincing lead in this game. Last turn was already good with the Pit Fighter and the Shredder, and this is where we just put the nail in the coffin. Very, very nice turn for us. We were sitting on that Dread Inferno for a long time, just going like, come on, spiders, come on, give us a good turn. And now just boom, we got there. We also preserved more health on the Pit Fighter, so that the health doesn't get wasted. Because whether that Shredder is at 2 or at 1, it's still going to die to one of his minions. Now you might argue, well, against his Dread Inferno might be better, but I don't know, he didn't play it. Wouldn't he have played the Dread Inferno last turn to kill off our Blood Imp? If you look at what he did instead, his move instead was just put down a couple 1-drops, so I don't think we need to play around the Dread Inferno at this point. Okay, so opponent uses the Implosion here. Only rolled a 2. That's unfortunate for him. So we'll see what he wants to do after that. I don't think our opponent should life tap because he should have done that before he played Implosion. Now it could be that he wanted to roll the 4 and then play something else. Okay, but this Panda is 100% incorrect. He should have life tapped before playing the Panda. Because what if he suddenly draws something that he can't play? Okay, so he double trades into the Dread Inferno here. Okay, so we can start the turn off with a life tap. We don't really have to be afraid of dying here. Our opponent only has 5 power on the board. We can dip to 17. And we can kill his board if needed. I think here, if you trade into his minions, you only put the Shredder into the Panda. You might say, but Shady, what if you get a Doomsayer? I mean, sure, it's a risk. But if you don't trade, he can still make that trade for you. So you probably want more information first and see like, okay, is it going to be a Doomsayer? Because the only way you keep that Shredder alive here is by using Dark Bargain, and we don't really want to do that. Okay, so here we have the option to kill his 1/1s to protect the Owl. I don't think that's really good. I think we just fan out, put more stuff on the table, and deal 9 face damage. 9 face damage is half of his current health. That's a little bit too much to pass up if we are going to kill 1/1s instead. Because the more health your Warlock opponent has, the more cards he's going to draw with the life tap, and the more cards you'll have to clear anyway. So in a way, the value play is to go face. Think about that, guys. The value play here was to go face. That doesn't happen very often, but I mean, whether you deal with 1 or 2 cards when you're just going face, or 4, 5, 6 cards when you're not touching his life total and he just keeps tapping and putting more minions on the board. Oh god, it's MCT. Oh god, he's still our best minion. Oh well, good thing we still have lethal on the board. Do we? Yeah, 9, we have lethal. And now we don't have lethal. God, I hate when this happens. When people bullshit their way out of a defeat, it's like, oh, I'm going to lose. Let me just steal your minion and now heal. We're like, no. Lucky we can fight back. We can put the Panther down. We can put the Spider and the Harvest Golem into one of the 3 damage minions. Put the Amani into the 1/1. Enraging the Amani, giving us a 5/2. Then play Dark Bargain, which will kill a Pit Fighter and an MCT, which is insane. It's actually really good. 6 mana to kill both a 5-drop and a 3-drop. And we get to go 4 phase, which probably sets up lethal because the Amani is also going to get enraged. And we just play this Jungle Panther. So good stuff, guys. Doesn't happen very often that your opponent MCTs your best minion and you can still just, let me just come back. But yeah, Dark Bargain definitely helped out there. Really good card. First arena run that I've done with Dark Bargain. And yeah, impressed. I was definitely impressed with the card. Very good. Okay, buddy. Can you save yourself out of this one? Looks like he's going to tap, see if he can find something. I think we got him, boys. Oh, the tension. Dread Inferno. It's not gonna be enough. He put himself still very dead. And we drew the North Sea Kraken. North Sea Kraken, or Kraken? Kraken just being really good in the arena, but also in this Warlock deck. We weren't 100% sure when we drafted him because we were going to have a low curve aggressive Warlock. But yeah, ended up to be very useful. Always good to have some Kraken lethal. So guys, thank you so much for watching once again. If you guys enjoy the videos, do consider hitting the subscription button on YouTube. Also, if you haven't checked out my live stream yet, check it out. I'm live basically 7 days a week. I only take 1 day off every 2 weeks to make these videos. So, all right, guys, see you there. Thanks for watching.